The way tonight will go is I'm going to talk a bit about how the show came about. Aline will talk a little bit about her process and some of the images in the show, and then the award people who receive the directors or jurors award or honorable mentions will be giving talks about their work. So both the directors award and the jurors award will be speaking for 10 minutes each, and then the others will speak for 5 minutes. And then we will have time for question and answer. So again, just really glad everyone's here tonight. And this show started as a conversation. Aline and I knew I wanted Aline to jury the show, and so we talked about what was interesting to her, what she would like to see, what work she would like to see, and what was really compelling for her right now. And so she was talking about, image and text, words and pictures. And so that's what we decided on. And then a lot of you signed up for her lecture that she did on that, which was fascinating. And then, we had the call. And then the show that is an online exhibition is on our website. And I was so excited with the images that were selected. I think it's a really interesting group of images, a really powerful group of images. And it's just really interesting to see what people are doing and how people are working with both text and images. So Aline, if you would like to speak a little bit about your process and the show, or whatever you want to talk about tonight.
Thank you, Hamida, and thank you all for being here. I truly think this is one of the favorite shows I've ever juried, and I have gone through the show so many times. I just love every single image in the show. And, when you have to pick the best or the favorite or whatever, it's like there's so many fantastic images that would have fit the bill. So it's how you're feeling in that moment. That is so true with so much jurying. Sometimes when you juror a show, you might pick completely different work on another day. That's just how it goes. One thing I've learned, because I get rejected all the time when I submit to shows, is that as a juror, it's made me kind of understand the process, that there's a reason every juror is subjective. They have things that they are drawn to. And so for me, I came out of the art world. And when I went to school, I learned, painting, drawing, printmaking. And so I really always have looked at photography as a tool that could be enhanced by using other things. And especially during the pandemic, I thought a lot about the importance of us telling our stories and getting it into a form that can go into the future. And I felt like so many pieces in this show were just a reflection of our need to really talk about things and tell our stories in such beautiful and creative and conceptual ways. So, I just want to thank you all for, some of you kind of tried out text and image for this show, but I think a lot of you may have already been working in that form. And I want to encourage you to keep going. I want to encourage you to make small books of these. I was so happy to hear that Jackson is considering creating a book of his text and image work. So, but basically, thank you. It's just been a visual treat to look at all the work in the show over and over. So I'm really, really proud of all this work. Not that I did it, but you know, it's just wonderful to have it housed together. And the great thing about Hamida is this is an online show. And so, you know, she asked me to pick 40 images and I picked 100 because I couldn't say no to so much of the work. And she was like, fine, you know, and I feel like actually the show is richer with all of the work in it rather than limiting it to a certain amount that would fit on a wall. So I think this show could be a beautiful book in itself too. So anyway, congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
Agreed. I think it would be a great book. Yeah, I think we've done that dance before, Eileen, where you've said, "Can I have more?" I say, "Sure." Especially if it's online. If you have a gallery and you only have a certain amount of wall space, that can be really difficult. But when it's online, absolutely, like pick the best show. That's what I always say. So it's great. Maryam, how are you doing? I'm gonna start with you, if you are ready.
Hi. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I
Yep.
sure can. Yep.
Okay. And thank you for inviting me, and thank you for picking my artworks. It is my first time that I am talking because I recently immigrated to the US, and it's been nearly 1 year that I'm a student. I'm a master's student in integrated visual art, and it's my honor to be here with all of you. Thank you so much. And do you want me to share my screen to show my works?
Yes, please.
From the scratch, yeah. Can you tell me how can I share? Because I've never done that.
Sure.
There's a
So,
green button at the bottom
Okay,
that
yeah.
says share screen.
Okay, this project was done during my second semester. It is called Echoes of Solitude. To tell you a little bit about my project, in my photography series, Echoes of Solitude, I explored the emotional ties between physical space and their inhabitants through double exposure photography, enhanced by adding Iranian calligraphy to deepen the visual narrative. This series seeks to capture how environment retain the memories and emotions of those who have once felt them, emphasizing the profound connection between presence and absence. The photographs depict a visual conversation between the seen and unseen. Layered images of disorganized everyday objects symbolize the persistence of loneliness within a cluttered home, suggesting that solitude can dwell among physical clutter. These overlapping exposure illustrate physical intersections and intertwining the time, memory, and emotional layers. And these are my first shots. I took so many pictures. I really like how we can get the details with the lowest amount of light. And I really like the presence of shadows. And I just chose some of my first shots to show you here. And after that, I used some of the my photos to create double exposure with different level of transparency. And for Iranian calligraphy, I used some of the poems done by Iranian poets by the name of Hafiz, Maulana, and Shamlu. And incorporating Iranian calligraphy introduces an intimate and a culturally specific dimension to the work. This script doesn't simply represent language, it evokes symbols of personal and collective stories. The calligraphy stands through the visual chaos like echoes of past conversation, infusing each piece with desire and the poetic tension between love and isolation. And after that, I used handwriting on actual paper. I printed them and I handwrite on them with white and black pen. And these are my last step. And to wrap up, the Echoes of Solitude encourages viewers to perceive the space around them and physical structures and emotional landscape, echoing the absence of what was once present. This series aimed to elicit a reflective response, connecting personal experiences with broader themes and encouraging a deeper contemplation of the meaning embedded in our surrounding and how they shape our sense of solitude. So if you have any question, I'm here. I can't hear you.
Amita, you're muted.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you. That was great. Thank you. I think what we'll do is save questions for the end. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. So Charles would be going, but we're doing some work on the back end to get his work ready. It's not quite ready yet. I haven't seen Lindsay. Has Lindsay Buchman joined us?
I am here. Can you hear
You
me?
are. Yay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. If you would like to share, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. I'm also going to just put, I'm going to be sharing images directly from my website, and I'm going to put this in the chat because my connection might be a little unstable.
Okay.
I'm currently out of the country. And let me just switch over to share my screen. Okay. Can you see this? It should say Sunstruck. It has 2 images and some text.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm just going to minimize our images and then hopefully this holds. So I just wanted to, I'm also going to just be mindful of time, keep a timer for myself. The piece that I wanted to talk about is part of this larger body of work, Sunstruck, and it specifically is from the figures in the project. So it's a project that includes archives that are from 1916 to 2018. And there's a range of work. I'm just going to kind of scroll down to particularly the image that's in the show, which is this broadsheet. The images are from this larger collection of archival photographs that I had collected. They're both vernacular photography, so found photographs, constructed photographs that I made, and familial photographs that are from my family's archive. So part of my interest in this kind of like collected archive is that some images, you don't exactly know where they're coming from. And the provenance of the images is contextualized within the artist's book that is like part of this overarching body of work. And the interest in that slippage.
Sounds like she's frozen. Lindsay, we're not hearing you now. Lindsay, if you can hear me, maybe Okay, she's putting it in the chat. Do you want to, I don't know if you should stop screen sharing and then we can come back to you once the internet is a little bit better. Are you back with me or is she gone?
She's gone.
Okay, thank you.
You know, Hamida, I also
Yeah.
would love to just see the whole show. We could, if we can do, just quickly run through all the images.
That would be great. We're working on Charles on the back end.
I could do it
Um,
on my screen.
If you don't mind, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, is that all right? Is everyone?
That'd be great.
Because I just want everyone to feel like their work has been seen.
Yes, wonderful.
Okay. And
Yes,
I'm just
such a
doing
great
it
idea. Thank you.
from the website. So, and don't
Yeah.
look at my screen. Yeah, how do I make this really big? Okay, that's
Full
good
screen,
enough,
go
right?
to full screen. Yeah.
All right, Charles Ingham. In the early hours, the gods consider making a call. As I said, he submitted so much fantastic work. It was really hard to pick. And that's Maryam's beautiful piece. This is Angela, and she's going to speak tonight. And Lindsay's, I love this. I've been working a lot with vernacular photos, so. And this beautiful piece by Jackson James, when his father went on an angry rampage, breaking everything in the house, this picture I made of him was the first possession he saved. Goes right to the heart. Melissa's fantastic Polaroid of Anita Hill. And Michael's American Politico piece called Red. And Dean is sent a video tonight, so we'll hear his video. And Leah, so I says to him, you lied to me again. I'm tired of those lies. Save them for your next girlfriend. Save them for your sainted ma. And I Ubered home. This is Asiya. Beautiful work. I don't know if Federica's here, but this is one of her wonderful cyanotype handkerchiefs of her family. Darryl's piece, really fun and whimsical. Girls gain glamour in fancy cowboy boots. This is Lowell's piece. I just thought this was hilarious. And Steve's, it's a beautiful image in itself, but it had some fabulous text. And Bonnie Blake's piece, The Connoisseurs of Leisure Time, was sort of obsessed with this man's boots too. And I've seen some of Marisa's work, really, really beautiful. It hurts how much I miss you. And the tissue paper letters are just so fragile. Betrayals by Xtine. And Susan Kaufer Carey's Earth Angels. Rebecca is, my father told me once or twice that he wanted to die. The confidence he has in me is a signal to the strength of our relationship, I once assured myself. the issue is that men who don't pretend to try to forget to inform their daughters of the hopelessness of their efforts. I think my dad still longs for his mother's assurance, but settled for mine. And Victoria's, the show goes horribly wrong. And Jane's piece, art is anything you can get away with. And I so resonate with this work. It's like, I challenge you to all try to get away with stuff, because that's what an artist is. Brian Fuhi's terrific scene, this is I guess a bar in Provincetown. And I loved all the color of the walls and all the writing. Leah sent in several really wonderful pieces, and I picked this because of the shag carpet. I like to look in other people's houses for clues. What made this a home? She had a spotless manual for the oven, an original, proudly displayed on the counter. I hope whoever bought this doesn't renovate. And Beth creates so many beautiful constructions and still lifes. And this is just another to add to her collection. Amy, I just was on Amy's website today going through all her amazing work. And of course, as a woman, this photograph really resonated with me. So thank you for making this work, Amy. And Rima, this is a killer diptych. So love this work. And Sharon Lee Hart, Beyond the Internal of Now and Here. Beautiful. Charlotta's, a lot of her work uses text and image. If you don't know her work, check it out. But I really loved this piece, kind of pulling apart at the seams and showing us what's underneath. Adrian Hughes does the most amazing embroidery on postcards, and I thought that this was a fantastic expression. Another one of Charles. As I said, I had a hard time picking. Diana prepares for the hunt. She lets her hair down. Candace, I loved this, just the way you frame this, and the tree in bloom, and there was a flash on the stop sign. I just thought this was a great image. Lauren, this is so beautiful. What a great diptych. Now you are everywhere. Now you are everywhere. And Michael, you had so many wonderful portraits, and I loved the tattooing on this that really spoke to the text part of this. And Sherry I've known for years. I think I had my first museum show partnered with Sherry's work, and she's been doing text and image for years, and it was really exciting that she submitted to this show and that we were able to put in one of her pieces. Valerie Kim's, someone I've known for years, lives in Hawaii, in and out and under the water with wild joy and wonder. Judith's fantastic piece. No one ever said a word about Miss Jerry and Miss Ida. Annie's piece, I inherited mom's body and one of her scars. I just love personal storytelling. And Jenna has an incredible series of motherhood. If you haven't seen it, you should check out her website. But I loved this purse, which truly, I agree, was a bad decision. Jenny Lynn, I've loved her work for a long time. I was so thrilled that she submitted to the show and now is working with older images and collage for this. Mara's beautiful piece. The things I can't explain are swallowing me up. Ellen's wonderful diptych of telephones and ephemera that goes with the telephone, left hanging with my notes. Andy's piece, your looks might not be the greatest, but that mind, how it gets me. My friend Benita has a beautiful series on menopause that she's starting, and she's letting the women tell their stories. This is Shar. The older I get, the more I long for authentic connections with myself as well as others. I love telling people my age, 51. There's no shame in getting older. With age comes wisdom and experience. I've been intentional about sharing both with my children. There are many days that my body likes to remind me that I'm getting older, but my soul is as youthful as ever. At 47, I decided to go back to college to finish my undergrad degree. It was one of the greatest challenges of my life. At 51, I walked across the stage to receive my degree, feeling great joy and accomplishment. I wish my mother, who died when I was a year old, were there to see me. I know she would be proud of me. I'm learning that life is not a linear journey, and sometimes I feel lost, but I hold true to my mantra. Really beautiful, Benita. Eric, you only see part of me, she said. First of all, it's a gorgeous photo, but I love seeing the masking tape and just how you put this together in the simple language. Really, really beautiful piece. This is Jenna's. I thought I saw you and then you disappeared completely. It was only what I wanted to see. You were all I ever wanted. And I really love sort of the scratchy text on this. This is Julie's piece. I ran into Charlotte at Lowe's and told her that I liked her shirt. She informed me that the front featured her beloved and dearly departed pup, Mooch. I expressed my sympathy over her loss, and her husband pulled out his phone to show me a picture of the 2 boxer puppies they'd just adopted. Charlotte looked wistfully at the picture and said, yeah, but there's only one Mooch. Julie submitted some other wonderful pieces too. This is Vanessa's, and Mary felt fat, and I'm trying to read this, and I can't quite read all the text, but you can go back on the site and look at it more closely. Chris Moore's beautiful piece of text with florals, and it really speaks of nostalgia and memory. Lisa Murray's The Benefit of Hindsight. And Marnie's piece, Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness and kindness. Lisa presented this Chico Poems project, which unfortunately we can't show all of the work inside, but they all have text and image, and it's such a beautiful compilation of cyanotypes and text. So, you know, really bravo, Lisa, on this work. Cheryl's, your bus line will grow right before your eyes. And I love the addition of paint and ephemera, and where there's text, and you know, two women. I'm assuming they're the same person or not, but I thought this was really well done. And Charlotte's really beautiful piece. I'm pretty sure it's about her mother with dementia. I could be wrong, but I thought this was a beautiful way to speak about it. Robert, he's been working a lot with text and image, using poetry and images, and going home. Mountain redwood clouds, cold winter storms are coming, time to head back home. And Rachel, I'm afraid, my dear, that we take too much from mothers, take too much for granted, and allow them to work too hard. Passed by a censor. Catherine, you know, came out with that amazing book with using old Kodachrome slides, and this, I really responded to this because she's doing personal stories and then combining it with image. So I won't read this whole story, but the whole story is about a man that made a comment to her when she was very, you know, a teenager, about her body, and it really impacted her in her life. And I just think making work like this and telling your stories is so important. So it's really exciting to see this new work. And Sid, this is fantastic. I shouldn't have been surprised when the tuft between my legs went gray. What was that saying about knowing if a blonde was natural or bottle? And I love the image that you put in to represent that. Reagan, I just really like the sentiment here and the powerfulness in the woman's face, and maybe that's you, or no, it's Saba, sorry. So congratulations on that. Jeff, because we were so alone together. If you don't know Jeff Phillips' work, check out his website. He is the zine master. He is so generous with his knowledge, and he will teach you how to make a zine from his website. So if you don't know him, check him out. Linda, it's great to see another beautiful piece of yours. It is far harder to kill a phantom than a reality. Wendy, I don't think Pasquale and I want the same thing. We could have kept going, but it was obvious I wanted more than he did. It was hard to walk away. Steve, this is really hilarious. 3 things cannot be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Jennifer, I really loved that the text was in a video screen off to the side, and this crazy photo of women posing for the camera. And Michael, there's really terrific collage and with text and image. Brandon, I really appreciated that you were actually forming sentences with your work. Okay, tomorrow. A number of his pieces had, a collection of words, and how you put them together and everything was really wonderful and strong. Victor, in the future, there will be machines that impart the user a religious experience. David, I love this kind of work. This is suspicious activity. Just taking something you see in the world and recontextualizing it into something kind of humorous. And then he has the case number here. So he had several pieces that I thought were really fun and terrific. And Susan, her text is next, and I'll let you go through and read that, but really wonderful storytelling about this couple. And Joel, I thought this not only spoke to the pandemic, but just the simplicity of this image really, really got me. Dawn, the act of making, the goal, beauty, simplicity, naturalness, a pastoral and pictorial vision, an underlying harmony, form and spirit, movement and quiet from the artist, a pulsating rhythm flowing to our mind, subject and object flow back and forth. A whole of spirit dwells there, transporting us across a vast emptiness. Really beautiful pairing of poetry and image. And Robin, but when that happens, you should take off your shoes and walk into the garden where my feet once touched the soil. I won't read the whole thing, but I love that this is in a typewriter. And you have that brilliant red, it looks like the interior of a suitcase behind it. So, and Bill, waters yawning across an icy plain, meditation on a landscape lit by a setting sun. Really beautiful. Beth, she couldn't bring herself to disappear completely. Chris always makes really interesting work. This is a whole new project that I've seen, and it is obviously cyanotype and a collection of vernacular photos and illustrations. Elizabeth's, this is just such a beautiful image, just the color and the quality of the photograph really resonated with me. And Deborah, growing up, I felt so out of place. I was sure I was adopted. Terrific. Richard, great image. And Jerry, plant a kiss, kiss a plant. This is, I just love this image too. I love all the images. And Robert, I won't read this, but another, I love the fact that you put this on a leaf, and I'm not sure what process this is, but it's beautiful. And Becca, I love how simple this is and how powerful it is at the same time. Lacey, fantastic collection of text and butterflies and a really beautiful collage. And Nicolo, he had numerous wonderful pieces. I had to choose one. And we're getting to the end. Sydney, this is gold leaf, the whole moon and entire sky. And Rebecca, I know she's in the audience. Yet another wonderful composition and collage. If you don't know her work, check it out. And Haley, startled awake, drool on your cheek, sweat on your hair, through squinting eyes, you reach up for me back to sleep. Really beautiful. And I love the imprint on the baby's skin. And Liz and Shane have done a fantastic series of found Polaroids where they add their own text that has a lot of humor. So I'm blown away by my own genius. Mark, I love the writing on top of the photograph. And these must have been, it says you took the photographs. So, and Christine, a moment of sumptuous solitude as the city swirls around you, sandwiched between this town's iconic past and its glistening future. Your mission is to devour the present. Jim, a really beautiful piece. He would make a life so far from theirs. There's such poignancy to all of the work. I also love this piece by Paul. I think it's, God, what is it? When you like missed connections, and was it New York Magazine? So this has some, like someone saw someone at a museum and they didn't get to meet them, and you can read the whole thing, but I think conceptually this is really, really interesting. Brian's wonderful work. Brian takes old books that his mother read and photographs that his mother took and cuts windows to create the text through the photograph. We're getting there. Harry, this just is a great shot. A really beautiful composition by Robert with text, and I just thought this was a great collage. And this wild piece by Francine with all kinds of text around it. And Andrea, when I was young, I would go through everyone's drawers when no one was home. I found the false drawer where you hid those Playboy magazines. Mom still has them in her basement. And I have to say, every time I babysat, I went through every drawer in whoever's home I was in. So I so related to this because I am a total snoop. And this just made me laugh out loud. And this is Thomas. And really wonderful piece by Eric. In an emergency case at night, the track walker wraps his red flag around the lantern as a signal. And I'm pretty sure that that's a cutout figure, but I might be wrong. Thought this was pretty powerful. Please Don't Say a Word by John. Ian, an ancient bent tree cradles a home, sky and wild sea embrace, nature's sheltered grace. Beautiful. And I mean, this is such a fantastic image. So thank you for submitting it, Douglas. And I think this is the last one. This right here is the text. And it says the text is a photo of a tree. And I just kind of love the sense of humor and whimsy to put that out as your text and image. I love that. So I think that's it. So thank you for allowing me to share all that. I just wanted everyone to see everyone's work because it's all really fantastic. So, okay, back to the show.
That was so great. Thank you for doing that. That was really wonderful. Okay, where were we? So I think we lost Lindsay. Jackson, would you like to go next?
Don't forget to unmute yourself, Jackson.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is my cousin James. He was 12 when I made this image in 2008. He had found this feather on a recent hike. I asked him to take his portrait. He had a tough time growing up. His dad was abusive to both him and his mother. The technique I used to make James' picture was inspired by images I had seen of Emmett Gowan in the 1970s. There it is. His use of a circular image on a black and on a black, his composition in a circle instead of a square liberates the image from reality and takes it to a place of poetry and magic. The effect is achieved by using a lens whose image circle is smaller than the film in the camera. It's perfect for storytelling. This approach was further reinforced by Keith Carter. I took a workshop from Keith in 2001 about the time when he released his book Boneyards, which included this image, which just knocks me out. I was determined to try my hand with this technique. I found a 90mm process lens, hooked it up to my Crown Graphic 4x5 camera, and I was off. This image was made near Sonora Pass in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's entitled True Love. The heart in the circle, or the heart above, is JT plus MV 2000. And then the lower heart says JT plus MVT 2004. So they got married and came back to inscribe it on the bark of an aspen tree. This was made in bristlecone pine forest in the White Mountains of California and Nevada. I like the circle. Helps focus your attention on the bleached limbs of the tree. I started a series of self-portraits. I put a red filter over the lens to increase exposure times so I could release the shutter and have time to rush into the picture, pause, and then rush back to close the shutter. I really like the ghosting effect. Oops. This one here. I really like the ghosting effect that I got from that, so I started playing with that more. Here I am in profound communion with the forest. These self-portraits went on for a couple of years. I always wanted to make a book of them, but they needed words, and I could never find the right words or the right poems to go with them. They languished in my files until Aline gave a talk about words and pictures. That was the inspiration I needed to give me a try at it. The portraits and images seen in the series, Reflections, are my thoughts about life's journey so far. They are metaphors for observations I have about life and aging. So cleared for takeoff, the boundless energy and limitless possibilities of youth and dreams to reshape the world. Repository of dreams. I'd like to think of my dreams reside here. Nightmare. After retiring from a career as a corporate graphic designer in Silicon Valley, my nightmares consist of trying to escape from a labyrinth of office cubicles. Rapture. Most people have difficulty seeing my figure in this picture. I'm just below center, arms outstretched, head just below the furthest arch, almost raptured. Postponed dreams. This was taken in a defunct yacht harbor in Alviso, California, at the south end of San Francisco Bay. Ensnared by details. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with detail and just want to get on with it. Finding your roots. I'm not satisfied. This is a working title, but the idea is tracing your roots back in ancestry and that kind of thing. Shallow depth of field. I just love the word image combination here. Outliving old friends. It's one of the drawbacks of a long life. Loss of a loved one. This could be the person themselves or the memory of that person to another. Either way, their memory fades over time. Chemical dependency. This goes back to the image of James. Addiction is a dilapidated prison of the mind that blocks the victim in and the family and society out. And the last one, nostalgia is the rest of memory. This is a quote from Robert Nesbitt, a sociologist and philosopher from Berkeley. It is the subject of my next project involving portraits and rusty metal. So that's all.
Thank you. Thanks you, Jackson. That was wonderful. Next would be Angela.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Aline. Thank you, Hamida, for choosing my work. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay. So, can you see?
Yep.
Good. So, I am Angela Scardigno. I am a graphic designer. I graduated from the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina, and I came to the US. And in 2019, I graduated with a master's in fine arts here at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. And I've been working with digital collage for for at least maybe 5-6 years. And this is the image that was selected for this show. And well, I work with a photograph from an archival from the Museum of South Texas History, a local museum. And what I like about working with digital collage and also with collage is the fact that you can play around with different elements from different universes. You can combine photos, texts, drawings, textures, color, and you can transmit a very complex idea, concept, story. And you can also give clues. You can suggest the reader to go one way, to go other way. And it's really fun for me to work with multiple levels of information. And when I look at this photo from the Museum of South Texas History, I couldn't find much information about it. I knew the date, that it's 1915, and also the name of the photographer or the studio, which is Willus or Wellus from San Benito. So looking at this picture, I thought that it would help me to talk about the contrast between the social classes in that time period. And the protagonist of this photo, it's a gentleman posing with his possessions. He's very proud, he's very elegant. And as a clue, right here, can I get closer? Right here, you can see the lyrics of a song that say, I want to be, and for sure, he wanted to be someone. And he's very proud with his possessions, right? And then in the background, you see these small figurines that are moving, working, and almost also vanishing. And those represent the working class, the lower social class. So there is this tension and this dynamic between these two classes. And then you have little details here and there that if you look from afar, they can look as like maybe mistakes or stains or textures. But when you get closer, you see these little images that are linked to the farms, to the rural life. And for me, this is something that would make the viewer more engaged to look for more clues and look more about the story behind the photo and the composition, right? So this piece called Sugar Mill and Sugar Cane belongs to a body of work that was recently exhibited at the Brownsville Museum of Fine Art. The name of the show was Greetings from El Valle. I am from El Valle. I live right now in the Valley of South Texas. And in collaboration with other local artists, we created this exhibition. We put together our own work, our own collages, and we also brought the archival material from the Museum of History. So we connected two different museums from here, the Museum of Fine Art and the Museum from History. And we showcased the artifacts and marketing materials from that time period, the early 20th century. And it was really awesome to see how the community responded to these materials put together, because they had so many experiences to share, especially the older generations. These amazing photos are from Carlos Limas. He went to take photos of the show. Here you can see these materials from the South Texas Museum. Most of the materials we got were, as I said, marketing materials, promoting the farms and the agricultural activity from this part. And finally, I also wanted to share something that I'm really proud about, is the fact that the museum organized tours for the schools, and little kids and young kids came and they had the chance to know history through art, and they hosted workshops, and they had fun working with collage, and they were very inspired, and it was really nice to see how this outcome, right? So I think this is my last slide. So if you want to see more of my work, more of my digital collages, I am on Instagram. And yes, that will be all for me.
Perfect. Wonderful. Angela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Melissa Kreider.
Yes, hello. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
All good? Amazing. Okay.
Maybe just speak a little louder.
Yes. Hold on. Let me get a little closer to my mic. Is that better?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Kreider, and thank you to Aileen, Hamida, and the Center of Fine Art Photography for putting together this show, and to everyone for being here. I'm going to speak in depth about this piece that was chosen for the exhibition, but I first want to share a bit about the body of work that it's part of. I also want to provide just a quick little content warning. I'm going to speak about gender violence, not in specific detail, but in events that have happened. So I Will Bite the Hand That Feeds is created directly in response to the time that I have spent in jails and courtrooms across the United States while producing another body of work about those who have been incarcerated for killing their abusers in self-defense. I've had to consider what it means to closely bear witness to systems that actively harm my community of assault survivors under the guise of assistance and justice, while seeing how these forces at play affect us in our communities. So these pieces are digital collages compiled from scanned Polaroids, personal and found imagery, and handwritten phrases that have come to mind as I connect the dots between my lived experiences as a survivor of assault, those that allow me to photograph them in jail, the concept of justice, and how media handling on topics of assault seeps into everything. The images flow as a call and response to each other, and I lean heavily into metaphor, art and historical references, and personal experience to speak to broader themes. And because I'm a professor, I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson today in relation to my body of work, because it's all related. So I used images of women throughout recent decades that have testified on powerful men's abuses, ranging from workplace harassment to sexual assault, taking it upon themselves with great personal risk to warn us about those who yield or are about to yield extreme power in our country. In 1991, condemned by many, Anita Hill testified on live TV to a committee of 14 white men led by then Senate Committee Chairman Joseph Biden. Hill testified that Clarence Thomas, who I'm sure a lot of us are very familiar with at this point in time, he was a then Supreme Court nominee that had just been confirmed by the judiciary. She testified that he had sexually harassed her while he was the chair of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission while she worked there as an advisor to him. And despite evidence and testimony, we know that Thomas was able to go on to secure that Senate confirmation. In this work, I'm referencing this specific Barbara Kruger piece in the phrase that I used, because much like the safety pin that is pricking the fingertip in this image, I get a prick when I think of Anita Hill, which is very often these days. I wish the committee at Hill's trial were not so in line with the culture of dismissing and disbelieving Black women and could have listened to her telling them that Thomas was unfit to serve as Supreme Court judge. And I wish we could have learned from her trial in '91. In 2018, I got deja vu when Christine Blasey Ford testified in court in a live TV spectacle accusing Brett Kavanaugh, another Supreme Court nominee at the time, of sexual assault while they attended college together in 1982. Despite evidence and testimony, Kavanaugh was confirmed to the Supreme Court, and Blasey Ford endured and still endures death threats and public shaming, so much so that she had to move during the trial and hire security to protect her. I'm also thinking of Jean Carroll, who testified that Trump sexually assaulted her in the 70s and put her in danger by defaming her publicly, which led to her being doxxed and inundated with threats of physical and sexual violence, saying she is now always hyper alert for potential threats in and around her home. Trump was found liable, and we all know, despite this and multiple felony charges, he is being enabled to run for president regardless. So returning to this piece that was included in the Words and Pictures exhibition, Hill's testimony against Thomas was indeed historic, but what strikes me the most about this photograph and why I chose it for this piece in particular is that Hill is looking at Biden in this photograph as she testifies and receives questions from the committee. Throughout Hill's trial, Biden repeatedly perpetuated the condemnation of Hill and has since expressed regret with how she was treated. He says he should have done more to set a stronger stance against harassment to the American people, and in response, Anita Hill wrote in her 2021 memoir, Believing, she wrote this: "When behavior, intentional or not, has negative, life-changing consequences for masses of people, mere words are not enough. I was very serious when I suggested that Biden take up the cause of solving the problem of gendered violence. We should expect the people in power to do all they can to ensure that the behavior doesn't recur. I hold myself and my actions to the standard." And I'm thinking about this photograph constantly this day. I'm just thinking about Anita Hill and all of these women who have really put their reputations on the line to blow the whistle, especially as women's rights are being used as a pawn to run re-election campaigns on with like little to no follow through and policy change. Whistleblowers are called hysterical when warning of abuses, but the politicians mentioned have gone on to threaten the safety of countless lives through policies and inaction. And I believe it's time to ask for more. Using this photograph of Hill and pairing it with my handwriting feels like a way to pay homage to the trial and harassment she endured, the liability she assumed by speaking up, and acknowledge the bravery of how she committed her life to exposing and ending gendered violence. It's impossible for me to photograph people, many of whom are women identified, who have been incarcerated for defending themselves against abusers, without also thinking about those without history who have risked their safety and put their reputations on the line to speak up about the dangers of powerful people and not make the connection between them. Most importantly, I'm reaching back in history to try to reckon with what I should do now and how I will move forward at this time in history that we're in. And thank you so much. And if you want to see, I know that was a lot, but if you want to see the rest of the work, check out my website. I'm on Instagram. You can email me. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. That was powerful. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. We need more work like that. I will stop there. Michael Pointer, are you ready?
Sure. Yeah, I'm ready to
Okay.
roll. Here we go.
We're ready for you.
All right, I'm going to do this as fast as I can. It was all so much neater on my Mac. Come on now. Okay, can you see that?
No, not yet.
No. Man.
Michael's computer decided to go down right before this, so he's using his cell phone. That's why he's having a little bit of trouble.
Cell phone and everything else I can get my hands on. And iPad Pro,
Yeah.
which
There you
okay.
go. You're good to
Here we
go.
Here we are. American Politico is a series of digitally composited images commenting on the current state of American politics. Throughout my work on this project, there was continual escalation of political diatribes. The news became noise to me and was inculcated into the creative mulch I draw on as I work. It started as a simple project to make minimalist still lifes on the grid of a large antique paper cutter. I had a nice collection of dead things, dry and needful. Concurrently, I was walking around photographing trees at night for a different project. I began to composite the two types of photos. I wanted to see what the abstract shapes of the trees looked like against a grid, order and chaos. The result was dark and harsh. It became obvious to me that I was responding to our political milieu. Recognizing this, I added images captured from old black and white television shows like Perry Mason, self-portraits, and digital paintings I'd made over the years. Faces enhanced with the dry and dead, uprooted plants, winter trees at night, film noir actors holding guns. This dark era so many think they want to return to. As I worked, they became images of the emotional texture of American politics. Careful observation will show the viewer that there is no blue in red, but that there is red in blue. Final images are what I gleaned from the deeper pockets of my mind. Loose screws, a bad penny and lint. Love poems unfolded like a sharp pocket knife. I think, you know, the distressed features are people are eating themselves up with worry and anger and concern, and nobody really knows what's going on. We're only hearing the loudest voices in the room, and it's confounding. It's confounded shows. I know God. The Christian nationalists are heavily patriarchal. You know, therefore, you know, that's why this guy is grabbing this femme fatale who has a revolver dangling from her fingertips, because they think they know better how we should live. They know God, they know God's will. So they're going to have us live just like they know God's will. Poison, again, God being carried as a weapon. Hate love, you know, it's an evangelist. It's actually Perry Mason a little bit right there. What else can you say? That's what we hear. That's the noise I hear. Idiot gun, everybody's buying weapons. We're all armed now. Well, most people are anyway. That's kind of spooky. Talk and 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 talk. to much acclaim. Lots of big posters, big signs, I'm right, you're wrong, you're gonna go to hell. And death mask. If the wave overtakes this country, that is indeed America's death mask, and in particular, the death mask of women's rights in America. I lost the cause of women's rights when I lived in Afghanistan. I supported them. I did what I could to lift the blanket off their backs and maybe gave them a few years of peace. I can't be there and work on those projects, but I still understand the power of women's role in society, and I continue to champion it. And that's that.
Thank you, Michael. Fantastic. So Marcella, are you ready to share Charles' work?
Yes, I will share that. And Charles, would you like me to just hit play on a slideshow?
Yeah, yes. If you like, please do.
Okay. Let's see if it's.
We're going to show this brief slideshow of some of the work from the series that was in the exhibition, and a couple of pieces from other series of mine, and then we'll stop at the end, and I will talk a little about the theory behind my work, and then I'll talk specifically about one work. Those of you who know me may not recognize me because I've lost 15 pounds in the last 45 minutes due to technical problems. I'm working with a very arthritic computer that is haunted by the malevolent spirit of Steve Jobs. Gonna do me in. Also, with these PDFs, it's sometimes hard to read the text, but these images are all on my Instagram page, and there is more work, obviously, on my website. I'm a conceptual photographer living in San Diego, where I'm a studio artist at Art Hatch, and I'm a member of the Snow Creek Collaborative. Born in England, I received my undergraduate and graduate degrees from the University of Essex before moving to California in the 1980s to teach in higher education. The title of my graduate dissertation was, and I tell no lie, Words in Pictures, in which I looked at 3 artists who included some element of verbal text within their visual artwork. As a conceptual artist, I create photonarratives that are hybrid forms, transgressing distinctions between the verbal and the visual. Each work constitutes a whole made up of parts, creating something of a symbiosis. A list of those parts might include the words, the images, the space between images, the subjects, the reference to specific individuals, places, or times. The verbal text interacts with the visual text and vice versa, and the visual images interact with each other to create single and multiple narratives. Some visual references are obvious. Some of the bones, sinews, and other connective tissues that hold a particular narrative together work within the piece's own logic, a logic that viewers, I hope, find for themselves. Here, the artist makes the work, and that work has an agenda, but a significant part of that agenda is for the viewer to find something of themselves within these images and words. The visual texts in these narratives comprise my own photographs, manipulated found images, and artifacts from my collection. The two pieces in the exhibition, and most of these pieces, are from an ongoing series called Invocations, Gods, Saints, and Fellow Travelers. And while this series represents the kind of work I do, it's only one representation. The series Invocations explores figures and events from a variety of cosmologies, belief systems, sacred texts, and myths, modifying, for instance, tales from the Bible, from Greek mythology, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Afro-Caribbean religion Santeria, the polio epidemic of the 1950s, Shakespeare, Dante, Bambi, King Kong, Aztec ritual, folk tales, Inuit tales, the lives and deaths of the Christian saints, the Russian Revolution, and more, including myths of my own invention. Just as the devil has the best music, so too the gods and their fellow travelers can have the best stories. I should say here that the motifs in these stories are often universal, but I'm conscious always of the dangers of appropriation. And I believe that this series reflects my interest in the quotidian, the everyday, and the mythic, and the place where they meet. And if we could stay on this one image, I'd like to talk a little bit about this one because it explains quite a bit, I think, about what I'm up to. This piece is called The Child Joan Works at Common Tasks. It's a recent work. The text reads, I learned to sew and spin. I tended over sheep and cattle. I gathered kindling. I seldom went far afield. And that text is adapted from the book Joan of Arc in her own words, which was compiled and translated by Willard Trask in 1996. My interest in Joan of Arc is longstanding. As I see Joan of Arc as a transgressive, proto-feminist, proto-queer, anti-English figure. I have to say also that I'm not a huge fan of talking about the individual elements of a work, but here's some not very secret source. This is Joan on the left. This is my granddaughter, Avery. This is Joan's peasant parents' smallholding in Domremy in northeast France. This is the artist's backyard in San Diego. This is 1424. This is 2024. And if, as the historians tell us, Jeanne d'Arc was born in 1412, Joan was 12 in 1424. Avery, my granddaughter, is 12 in 2024. And exactly 600 years later. And I discovered this wonderful coincidence only in the last few days preparing for this show. Avery Joan is wearing an Edwardian woman's coat. So from the early 20th century, the 1900s, which I bought on eBay some years ago for another project. The vertical lines in the images are all details from my photographs. They may be drawn from fabrics in Target, from bathroom walls, from doors, from graffiti, but they're all photographs. They're there because the work demands them for formal reasons. And as an artist, I want to entertain the eye as well as the intellect. But I also read those vertical lines as punctuation within the narrative. The middle image is household compost standing before a thrift shop painting. I did not manipulate the compost to make it look more elegant. It was already elegant. This is the Center for Fine Art Photography, to whom I express incredible gratitude, and especially to Hamida and of course Aline and to my fellow exhibitors. It's an impressive show. But if we're talking about fine art, there's a little story about Avery. I've used Avery as a model for several years, which sounds creepy, but It's all above board. And I give her a fee as a model. And that fee has grown as she has grown. A couple of years ago, when she was 10, she was lying, as 10-year-olds do, on our kitchen counter. And she was wearing this sleeper suit made of a bizarre fabric. And I took a photograph. And she looked at me and she said, "Is this a fine art photograph?" And I said, no, this is just a snapshot. And she said, "Oh, because if this had been a fine art photograph, she would have been due a fee." As Michael Stipe sings in Losing My Religion, "I've said too much, I haven't said enough." So thank you all. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Just delightful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all the work you guys did getting those images up.
We have one, I'm going to play Dean Terasaki's video that he wasn't able to be here tonight, which he'll talk about in the video. Once we're done with the watching that video, we'll take any questions or comments, anything that you'd like to share. You're welcome to put it in the chat or unmute yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and play Dean's video now.
My name is Dean Terasaki, and I'd like to thank Hamida Glasgow and the Center for Fine Art Photography for allowing me to join via recording today. I'm in Houston, and I have an event which unfortunately was scheduled at this exact same time, and so I was unable to join you remotely. In any case, it's an honor to be here among the artists at this in this exhibition. I'd like to speak to you today about this image and a few others. This is called "Treat Me to Something," Amachi Incarceration Camp, Colorado. Request for hair.
I do not know what that means.
It means an error occurred.
Thank you, Eileen.
That's some good text and image right there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me try again.
While you're working on that, I see Jeff Phillips is in the room. I'm putting a link to his amazing resource page on zines, because I want you all to get your work into book form. And you can do it reasonably through a zine, but if you don't know about Jeff and his workshops and his ability to put text and image together, check out this link. It is like, he is so generous with his knowledge. And so I want you to know that that's an incredible resource for all of us.
Absolutely. He's amazing. Okay, I'm going to try this again.
And this photo montage is one from a body of work called Veiled Inscriptions. The source material is a collection of letters that fell out of a building's wall while it was being remodeled in Denver, Colorado. The letters were hidden for almost 70 years, and the letters were mail order requests sent to a business, TK Pharmacy, that was owned and operated by my uncles. TK was Dr. Thomas Kobayashi, whose practice was upstairs. What we're looking at here is the side of a fish pond. This is a close-up of a fish pond that was built by the incarcerated people at the Amachi incarceration site. So this is an image made by me a couple of years ago. And the incarcerated people would use surplus concrete to build fish ponds. Typically, these would be next to the mess halls, and each block of 12 barracks had its own mess hall. And in the summer heat, it was really uncomfortable to wait in line for food, which basically occurred 3 times a day. So they built these fish ponds to hold water and make it be a little more pleasant to wait in line to be fed. In any case, the handwritten requests, right? These requests were sent to this business that was owned by my uncles. I'm on a journey to go to all of these sites, and I make photo montages to reunite the letters with the locations where they were written. Beyond their historical value, I think that these letters reflect my own Japanese American experience. The layered visual content is very much like the mystery of my own identity, isolated in transition, and I laugh, still revealing itself. Here I am, it's almost 70 years old. But the letters themselves are important for both for what they request, hair dye, stomach remedies, dignity, as well as the being a compelling reminder for the fragility of human rights amidst times of social disruption. So this picture is Send Me Anything, made at Manzanar. This is the children's playground there. So thank you for letting me share. And again, it's an honor to be here. Be well. Bye. Hi, my name is Dean Terasaki,
Sorry.
and I'd like to.
Okay. I feel like a little bit of that got skipped, but that body of work is incredible. They found these letters that were sent to his uncles from Japanese internment camps. And that's what he's talking about. It's a really important body of work. If you get a chance, I would definitely go to his website. So we've heard from everyone, which I just love these virtual receptions with artist talks. I love to learn more about everybody's work. It's just, they're just so rewarding. So I have one first question. Kwame says, Mike Pointer, I followed you for 40 years. Your work shown today, not surprisingly, illustrates significant evolution. What's next from your palette?
I'm working on night photography. I'm photographing things. The night is such a great way to see color and composition, and these are going to be large as usual, 45 by 60 inch gelatin silver prints, and I will paint in the colors that I want in a kind of an abstract way. it's I'm only about 3 months into the project, and it's part of what led to this compositing, as I was out shooting for that. And so I don't know. I'm such an artist, it just wells in. And thank you so much for your kind words. I sure do appreciate your following. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love this. Linda says, okay, Charles, I could listen to you speak all night. I think I feel the same way.
It's the fake accent.
This
is a San Diego accent.
I wondered about that. Yeah.
Prince William's
your fake accent and your an incredible use of words.
Thank you. Thank you.
English language. Yeah. So lovely. Other questions, comments? Aline, any last words, unless I get any more questions?
Well, I'm just going to call on people because we're going to make you talk. Susan Goldstein, what did you think about the show?
There you go.
I thought the show was wonderful. I submitted images, but honestly, I didn't in the beginning understand what you were looking for. So it forced me to play and experiment, and that's always a good thing. But congratulations to everybody who's actually was juried into the exhibit. It's magnificent.
Valerie Kim from Hawaii.
I'm over here trying to write you something here, Eileen. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on what words and pictures are. Just what your concepts are. I'd really like to hear how you think words and pictures can come together. I as well have been thinking about this for years and years and years and never have come to anything close to something I'd like to share. But then this came up and I thought, oh, what the hell? And I threw some things together. But I really struggle with them looking like advertisements, and but I do want to put the whole poem in or more words, and I don't. That's a really interesting issue for me, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. Be great.
Well, I put all my thoughts into the presentation that I gave, but it's as I said at the beginning, I came from an art background, not a photo background, and just throwing as much into the pot to the stew, and making art out of so many different ways and things. And I'm not being very articulate right now, but I just thought this show was an incredible representation of the possibility of combining text and image. And as I said, it's so important for us to tell our stories. And even if it's just for your family or for your friends, it doesn't have to be, a $50,000 book. It could be something small and intimate. But just keep playing and working. I mean, we don't play enough, and we get really bogged down by the need to succeed. And, if we just honestly just made work and enjoyed our lives, I think we'd be much happier, rather than worrying about getting it out in the world in a significant way.
Yeah.
So I'm off topic there, but
I agree. Totally.
I think it's right on topic.
Yeah, it's right on topic.
About playing. I think that's so important.
Okay, I'm just going to call on a few others. Rima, I loved your piece.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a great show, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. And I've actually been inspired by things that I've seen tonight, possible different directions to go in. I always feel like I have a lot to say, I mean, I've always been that person that has a lot to say, and it's been wonderful to be able to say it in the work in a way that communicates something, you know, that's sort of from deep within my psyche. So yeah, it's been great. I did have a question for Charles, actually. I'm not sure if you answered this question, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. So I noticed that the words are vertical and sideways. And I'm sure that you have a very specific reason for doing that, and I wondered what that was about.
This is the only series where I've done that. And it the verticality in this series, I think, is especially important. And I think also because previous series had used the text conventionally and horizontally, that I wanted to try it a different way, and almost make it like the seam in a piece of fabric. I also wanted to make the reader work a little. I mean, as I said in my explanation, you know, I have an agenda, but I hope that the reader, the viewer, has an agenda for themselves and finds something of and for themselves in the work. And I'm a very strong believer in feeling that the viewer, the reader, needs to do some work. My images, this series, they're 6.5 inches tall. They're about 17 inches wide, depending on the demands of each piece. So they're a little cinematic. And I like the idea that the viewer has to move to some extent to read the image. And there might be another reason about the verticality of the text, that I'm wanting the viewer to move their heads, but I also might be doing it to be perverse and kind of transgressive, because it's not supposed to be that way.
Great, thank you.
See, I think when you see them in the flesh, they're much easier to read.
Yeah.
And I think putting them vertically also makes them a little abstract. So
I just have a question to add to that, Charles. I wondered about your dividing the story up, you know, in acts, like 3 acts. You read this one and then you read this one and you move the story along. I was wondering about that when I was looking at that.
Yeah, I think there's a cinematic element. I think I'm influenced by cinema. And so in some ways, these are storyboards.
Yeah.
And what's interesting when I construct these narratives is I'll have an image and I'll put another image next to it that I think is going to work, and it just does not work. And I have to move it around. So somehow the piece is demanding a certain alignment and a certain order. And sometimes, I mean, nearly always there is an order, but sometimes deliberately there isn't an order. And there's one of the images that was in the slideshow where there's a photograph of my Doc Martens, and I had a red vertical line kind of framing it to the left. And I thought, I'm going to move it to the middle of the image, or more or less to the middle of the image, for possibly no better reason than it shouldn't be done. Sorry.
That's great. Rebecca put in the chat, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin is a great book which speaks to those ideas of play, explore with no grand ideas. You know, on that note, if Odette England is teaching a workshop, it's June 20th and 27, coming up here in a week, 2 weeks, that's about failure, like exploring failure, and it's very much about play and that exploration, and she's incredible. the way her mind works is really, I just love, she's like Charles, like she's from Australia, so she has a fake accent too. But the way her mind works and the way she uses language, it's really delightful. So, and there's still a few spots open for that, if anyone's interested. But it is time for us to close. It's just been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eileen, for going through all the images. That was fantastic. Thank you all for being here, and all the artists for talking. It's just so lovely to learn more about your work. I wish everyone could give a talk. I wish everyone in the show could give a talk. But that would be an all-day affair, I think. So thank you for being here. Good night. We'll
Keep
see you
making
next
work.
time. I'm with Eileen. Keep making work. Play. All right. Good night.